Welcome to episode 98 of Geeks Who Like Sports. As always, I'm Ray Carcillo in Los Angeles, California. Join my best friend and over the entire world over in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Elias Lee. How are you doing today, buddy?
98 episodes. Who would have thought? That's incredible. Nearing in on the 100 episode mark. I'm doing well, man. Got a kind of a rich geek show today with some salty sports topics. It's going to be another great episode. Once again, we appreciate all of you listening. Once again, we can tell that you're telling your friends because our audience grows every week. So thank you so much. Looking forward to it. This is Geeks Who Appreciate Athletic Contests.
Yes, and please do keep telling your friends all about us. Have them join the Facebook group, the Instagram, the Twitter, all that fun stuff. But again, of course, the main thing is keep clicking download on the show. iTunes, or Apple Podcasts, I should say. And of course, Google Play, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, all that fun stuff. Or, of course, our website, geekswhoLikeSports.com.
You really help us out. You guys have really made a community here. We're really proud of it.
Yes.
Now that the plug is over for the show.
Yes, we have
jump into the show.
Huge show for you. Like Lee said, we got all four sports we're touching on. We've got a lot of game news, a lot of comic book news, but as usual, we're going to kick things off with Flourish!
WandaVision.
WandaVision episode 8 dropped. This one was a bit longer than usual. It was a 40-minute episode, 46 if you count the credits, but about 40 minutes of actual content. And kind of similar to episode 4, this was a bit of a flashback. This kind of fleshed out a lot about Wanda and kind of changes a lot of stuff too and retcons the idea that she got her powers via experimentation and instead establishes the fact that Wanda has had her powers all along. And that they really first manifested through trauma, insinuating that she might be a mutant or something similar to a mutant, but more really that as Agnes or Agatha, as we should start getting used to calling her now. After 7 episodes of calling her Agnes, it kind of become habit. But that she's been actually a witch, that she was a young witch, and that her powers were not properly tapped into until she came into contact with the Mind Stone when she was experimented on by Hydra. And then the big reveal here is that, and my theory is that basically a figure that looks like the comic book Scarlet Witch is coming through the Mind Stone into Wanda. And at the big reveal at the end, Agatha says, you're using chaos magic. You're supposed to be a myth. You're the Scarlet Witch. And everybody's like, yeah, they finally freaking said it. Yeah. But my theory, at least with this, because we got a lot of other theories that we're going to get on, but this is that they basically kind of make the Scarlet Witch up to be like a Phoenix Force kind of like power, right? This cosmic kind of being who finds a host on Earth for a variety of reasons that's been channeled. And they also established Agatha's backstory, that there's different magic users, blue magic, black magic, red magic. Purple, yeah, like all this other stuff here, that it's not just, good magic and bad magic. It's the whole color of the rainbows. I don't know. Maybe they stole that from Green Lantern.
Doctor Strange has all of the colors.
Doctor Strange has
non-denominational.
All the colors. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think that that's a really interesting take on things, to be like, yeah, this is like a cosmic entity that has possessed Wanda and has kind of amplified her burgeoning powers to the point that she could. And again, it's also established it is all her. Everything in the bubble was done by Wanda. Agatha inserted herself after, drawn by this massive expenditure of power, because it also shows that Agatha has been around, like in her comic counterpart, since the Salem witch trials. She's been around for hundreds of years, and that basically she's there, less antagonistic than I originally thought, than a lot of us thought, or we kind of thought that me and Lee thought that she wasn't going to be a true villain, but she really did seem, this episode in particular, to be, while a bit of a biatch, but in a good way,
tough love,
trying to poke and prod Wanda to get her focus back, to kind of put the pieces together. She made the bubble.
She says very clearly, sometimes the best medicine is to go back, to go forward. Like, there's some mentorship happening here. Mm-hmm. And at the end, Agatha is clearly concerned that she is the Scarlet Witch. Dare I say, a little bit scared, keeping her kids in chokeholds. Let's get to the meat of it, though, Ray. The meat of the show is the post-credit scene that sets up the final episode. I will let you divulge in it because Ray Carcillo, my friend, my best friend, who I trust, called this in episode 3. He called it episode 3. He was right. I didn't hear anyone else call this, but Ray Carcillo, when my friend's right, I'm happy for my friend. And Ray, tell everybody what you were right about.
The big reveal at the end of this episode is that indeed Hayward's plan all along was that he created the White Vision. The White Vision, a true unstoppable weapon. He does not have the soul of the main Vision. He is powered by a fragment of Wanda's magic. They actually, the drone that she throws at them and she comes out of the bubble temporarily, they harness that to power him, so he's not powered by the Mind Stone. The White Vision, though, a soulless Vision who has all the power of the Vision, but can be pointed in any direction. Again, this goes to the idea of, are they doing Ultron? Is it Ultron? Is Hayward being controlled by Ultron? We don't know still more of what's going on, but it does set up the big possible confrontation that obviously Hayward, whether he's Ultron or controlled by him or working for someone else or whatever, they are going to send the White Vision into the bubble, probably to take on the other Vision and Wanda and Agatha and Photon and whatever the heck Quicksilver is. We're still not quite sure about that because nobody else was featured in this episode besides Agatha and Wanda pretty much.
This is where they want you. They want you not knowing what's going to happen. I've said this at least 4 weeks in a row. I love that this has brought back the middle school lunchroom conversation.
Yes.
And they've set us up now for what is going to be a very big finale, and no one knows what's going to happen. Now, as we do on this show, you saw the episode. So Ray and I are going to dive into just predictions. Some of them wild, some of them not so wild. I think obviously the obvious ones is that Vision will most likely fight Vision.
Yeah.
White Vision will fight Vision. I have a hard time believing that's not going to happen. I think everybody wants that. I don't believe that Agatha will be fighting Wanda, at least not in a real sense.
Right.
Now I got some wild predictions and I got some extremely wild predictions, but I want to put them out there, knowing that any of them could be right or wrong. Okay. I told Ray on the phone yesterday, I'm starting to bite a little bit on the Ultron rumors that Ultron may show up for even a brief moment, or I said, what if White Vision has James Spader's voice?
Yeah.
These are kind of all they won't shock me. It'll actually be pretty cool if he opens his mouth and it's
I am
Ultron's
the Lizard King.
Right. Right. That's my kind of like not that out there one. Now, my one that's out there is this. I just want to throw this out there because I've been thinking about it. Is that Ultron is made? I'm sorry, Vision, White Vision is made of vibranium.
Right.
$3 billion of it to be.
Yeah. The other big reveal, by the way, was that Wanda did not steal Vision's body. She did see that, but Hayward lied about that, kept it, and Wanda's Vision is a complete manifestation of her magic. Continually, sorry.
I would love it if White Vision is all powerful, as Ray said, and no one can seem to defeat him. This is my wild prediction. I think it would be awesome if Agatha summoned Magneto, Michael Fassbender, from the Fox universe, who would easily take care of Vision, by the way, because he's made of metal, basically.
Right.
That would be pretty amazing to me. It's not like I'm 60% or I don't actually think it's going to happen. I'm just saying this is an extreme prediction. But if no one can beat White Vision and she summons Magneto or the other X-Men, just for a brief moment, I think there's potential here for a multiverse scene where we gloss over multiple Spider-Men, multiple mutants just from different universes. I wouldn't be surprised if they do something. They've done this kind of thing in Thor. They've done this kind of thing in Guardians of the Galaxy where they're just kind of like, the universe has so many different things. I mean, if you really go back through the MCU, they showed us the stones together 3 to 5 times before we saw them together.
Right.
So I wouldn't be surprised if they tease this. Now, another thing we talked about in our StreamLounge.io session, by the way, we'll be streaming the final episode live Friday night.
It is rumored to be at least an hour long. So.
Yeah, I don't think they can land the ship in less than an hour. It's important they land the ship. I think it's going to be around 70 minutes, would be my guess.
Right.
But Ray and I are going to be live streaming the final episode Friday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific on StreamLounge.io. If you can't make that, you can see the replay whenever you want after that. But, what we talked about, Ray, is what are the 2 to 3 questions you feel like you need to have answered? So there's no way they're going to answer every question.
Right.
They're going to create new questions. But this is the deal with Marvel, right? And this is what we said about The Mandalorian. What questions being answered are going to leave you satisfied and excited for more, right? If you had to pick 2 to 3 questions, do you want to go first? I know there's one we agree on.
I mean, the big one that I think we agree on is that we need a better explanation of what's going on with Pietro. Right.
Yeah, you can't tease the X-Men and then just leave it at that.
Well, Agatha called him a crystalline possession, and I was kind of like, so is he a possessed person that she pulled from the Nexus? Is that something that she created? Because she also very clearly explains, she's like, no, this is not your Pietro because it would have been too hard to do necromancy on the body considering all the holes in it, which I thought was actually a great explanation to be like, why this is why we can't do it. It's like the magic doesn't go, her magic at least doesn't go that far. Right. Which I think is also very true with the comics, but it's like, where did she get, if it is fake, where did she get the image of him? She needs a Black
Lantern for that. She needs a Black Lantern to perform necromancy. Who knows? That might have been a tease into that at some point in the future. Marvel's known for that. But for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, y'all know the Green Lantern, the Black Lanterns inhabit the dead. With the same power or similar power of a Green Lantern. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, that's the DC
so I agree with you, by the way.
But that's...
Yeah, the one main question is, you got to give us more of the explanation for the X-Men, even if it's not them.
Yes.
You got to give us that.
Yeah.
I'll be left like, oh, why didn't you answer that? What else you got?
That was the big one that we agreed on. I want to know what's going on with Hayward. I want to know if, again, kind of leading into the Ultron thing, is he being controlled by someone else? Is it another dark being? Is it going to lead into, Multiverse of Madness? He seems like too important a character now at this point to just be the current head of S.W.O.R.D. and that he gets supplanted by Fury at some point, right? Like,
yeah, I think with him we're gonna get a reveal, and that's where it's gonna end. And what I mean a reveal is like at the end of the movie where like he's like uncovers his hood at the end. He's like,
yeah, that he's either it's less likely that it's Mephisto. It's less likely that it's Nightmare. But Ultron is still on the table. And even somebody like a Baron Mordo or something that's possibly mind controlling him, like that's still other magic users are still on the table.
Well, we kind of said this on the show too, that if they're gonna reveal a new big baddie, like first off, it would almost be insulting to Catherine Hahn at this point. She's done such a great job. Like let Agatha be the mainstay kind of big question mark on the show. And if you're gonna reveal a new big baddie, that's the post-credit scene, right? Or that's the last second reveal before the show ends of like, oh, it's Mephisto, like, and then it goes into something else.
Well,
but don't let it be a big player.
To forward the idea that, again, like you mentioned, that she's kind of afraid of Scarlet Witch, and maybe put her into the role that she was in the comics, where she becomes more of a mentor. That maybe maybe Agatha joins Scarlet Witch, Vision, and Doctor Strange in Multiverse of Madness.
Well, this is why I bring up the Magneto thing, Ray. Mm-hmm. Because, and again, I could totally be wrong. I don't want anybody out there to think like I'm just trying to throw something at the wind hoping I get it. Because like the truth is nobody really knows what's going to happen. Like the White Vision thing, even you were like, well, it's a long shot, but I think it might happen, and they did it. Yeah. Right? So the Magneto thing is interesting to me, and this is why I want to discuss it for a second, is that what if Agatha realizes they can't win and she brings him in? That would endear Wanda to her a bit.
Right.
And then who is Magneto's daughter?
Wanda.
I mean, it just kind of makes sense if you think about it. If there's some sort of talk there, right? I just think that would be very interesting. But then again, I also think, is that too much? Is it too geeky? Is it me going too far? But then again, they've done everything in the show that's gone too far. Yeah. So I've said this before. I'd love to see Hugh Jackman just pop in as Wolverine out of nowhere, but I don't think it's going to happen. But. Yeah. And then, like I said, we also don't know how this is going to affect Spider-Man and Shang-Chi and Multiverse of Madness. We know Doctor Strange is going to show up. That's not a question.
Right. I can't believe that he would be the Luke Skywalker size reveal that was hinted at.
I think they're going to tease it as that is, and there's going to be another bigger one after that because it's not a secret that he's in the show.
Right.
Yeah. Look, I'm going to say this again. Just land the ship. Like, I'm expecting a really great episode with twists and plot turns I wasn't expecting. Mm-hmm. I don't expect some massive reveal that we're not expecting. I don't think that's how you do a final act. I think you end the show and you lead into something else. So, I think it would be cool if Doctor Strange actually shows up right away at the beginning, just to kind of get it out of the way. Because this is what happens with episodes like this. And Ray, I've noticed this, and I think you have too. Like, episodes like this, when they wait too long, you have to watch them multiple times. Now, we're going to watch it twice at least, no matter what.
Right.
Because we have to. Yeah. But the thing is like, I remember, like when you watch any new Star Wars film or any new Marvel film, the first time you see it, you're just so excited. You're really not retaining a ton. Right? It's really the second viewing where you start to really take stuff in.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like Rise of Skywalker is actually a pretty good one, which was it was an okay film. I was rated it. It was okay. Right. The first time I saw it, it was just so much was going on. Second time I saw it, okay, I saw a bit more that I had missed the first time.
Right.
You know what I mean? It didn't change my thoughts on the film. But like that's what I'm expecting here. But if you bring in Doctor Strange right at the beginning, you kind of get that out of the way and I can focus.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But this is going to be my final thought on it. I'm expecting to be wowed. I really think they've done a great job with this show.
Yeah.
My real hope is that, and again, this is where Game of Thrones just failed so miserably, is that it's going to make me want to go back and watch it again to look for clues that we didn't know to look for.
Right.
All right. And then I also want to say, too, that, and well, we're not done with this yet, but that Falcon and the Winter Soldier, we can confirm now that it looks like that's 6 1-hour episodes.
Right.
And they look to be much more kind of action comedy in nature.
Yes.
So for those of you that kind of thought this show was a little bit draggy, you're going to get your wish. And Ray and I were joking that like people have this show, it's boring, it's slow, it's not, those episodes are too short. Well, I guarantee you when we get to Falcon and the Winter Soldier, people are like, there's not enough mystery about what's going on here. It's just, it's just too much, too
just
fast.
Info dumps and all this other stuff.
Yeah, I mean, what is that, man? Like, I don't know why I'm doing Keanu Reeves from Point Break, although that is a Marvel throwback.
God.
But no, great stuff. I just want to say one more thing. That it doesn't really matter how this show ends. I just want to say bravo to Marvel for just their continued commitment to source material.
Yeah.
It is so appreciated by people like Ray and I. We'll get into how DC screws that up later, but like I just like the White Vision thing. I remember like they just continue. I just like there's no way they'll do that. It's just that's too much of a deep cut, and they did it.
They did it, and they did it like the comics. The Vision gets pulled apart. He gets reprogrammed. Right. Like it's exactly, and because he has no soul, he loses all his color. Like it's exactly like.
And
the
she
comics.
says in the last episode, "I can't feel you." That's confirming that he's not there.
Yeah.
And then and we need to talk about too real quick that Wanda created life. She created Vision inside the bubble.
And probably the twins too. Yeah, exactly. Like
so really excited for the last episode. I mean, it's just going to be really interesting to see where all this goes and how they kind of land the ship. But look, let's be honest. There hasn't been a bad episode. There's been some you like more than others.
For sure.
But there hasn't been a bad episode. There's no Frog Lady episode in this series.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I mean, and I'm going to say the last thing is, of course, the big thing that probably will really set us up for Multiverse of Madness is what happens when the bubble bursts, right? It probably, at this point, I'm thinking that's probably going to be what opens up the nexus, the doorway to the nexus of all realities, or the multiverse, or...
So, would you be all right with a cliffhanger of, like, Wanda and Doctor Strange are lost in the nexus, and that's how it ends?
Yeah.
I'd be fine with that.
Because that's going to, then we know we got a two and a half hour movie coming that's going to probably tie this all up at the end by sometime this year or next year.
That's the type of ending I don't mind. Like, I don't... I was talking with my brother about this last night. It's like, that's an okay cliffhanger. It's, you don't want the cliffhanger that's just like, but you didn't answer the questions I wanted answered, and now I have to wait. Like, it's so hard to give them credit. It's so hard to end something where it's like you get satisfied, but you need more.
Yeah.
That's actually a really hard mix.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mandalorian
it's like hard
did it,
to do that.
Yeah,
but it's hard to do.
It is very hard to do. It's very hard. You're trying to thread a needle there, and it's very difficult to do. But to Marvel's credit, for the most part, they've done that very well over the years.
Right.
And so I'm episode 9. Friday, we're doing our Streamlounge.io watch along, our weekly Wandavision watch along. Yeah, it's 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. Hopefully, we get all these questions answered and then some. But we also got some other things coming out announced this week from Marvel and from Disney. Loki officially gets the launch date of June 11th, which makes sense that basically means so we get 6 straight weeks of Falcon and Winter Soldier. Then we get Black Widow, and then we get a couple of weeks off, and then we get into Loki. So
I love Disney.
Yeah. And again, we also know Loki's going to do something with the TVA. Owen Wilson plays an agent in the Time Variance Authority, again, that ties back to the Nexus of all realities and all that kind of stuff. So there's going to be a lot going on there. On the Star Wars front, Bad Batch coming out May the 4th. So fitting.
I love it.
Yes.
I love it. Now, let me just talk about Bad Batch real quick. Yeah. So for those who don't know, again, the Bad Batch appeared in the last season of the Clone Wars. They brought up a bunch of clones that were basically... not perfect clones. They all had kind of accentuated aspects of Jango Fett, for lack of a better word.
Right.
The reason I'm excited about this show is because it's diving into something we've never seen, which is basically this show is a continuation of Clone Wars after the end of the Clone Wars. So it's post Revenge of the Sith, post Rise of the Empire. We've never seen or known what's actually happened to most of the clone troopers after the war. Right. And the Bad Batch is a great kind of twist to be able to maybe follow that story during the first years of the Empire.
Right.
So fully expect to see young Vader, fully expect to see young Emperor Palpatine, I mean, as the newly appointed Emperor. And just, the Clone Wars was a great show, and it's like we all knew it had to end.
Right.
And it's over, and they found a way to continue it. In fact, in the trailer for Bad Batch, Ray, which I think you saw, the Clone Wars logo turns into Bad Batch, kind of saying like, hey, this is the next part. So bravo to them for doing that. And again, it's in May, which is right between some of these other movies that aren't coming out. So when we don't have Marvel, we have Star Wars, and we have Star Wars, we have Marvel. I am one with the Force is with me. I am one with the Force is with me.
Yes. Another Marvel show that's coming that I'm actually really excited for because it's just pure comedy. It's on Hulu. It's another animated. This is an animated show. It's Modok, right? Which we all know, mental organism designed only for killing. Usually one of the big bads. Actually, was the big bad in the Avengers video game. And can be but he's done in a very comedic way. Patton Oswalt is doing the voice of Modok, and it got a lot of slapstick comedy to it. I think it looks like a lot of fun. That's dropping May 21st on Hulu. I can't wait for that. I think that's definitely going to be something I'm going to watch as soon as it's available. Because, it just looks funny. It looks like something completely irreverent and something that's kind of out of left field a little bit for Marvel. But again, it's also not on Disney Plus. It's on Hulu. So it's going to have a little bit more freedom, I would imagine, with certain things. But then again, Hulu's owned by Disney anyway. So
I just like Patton Oswalt is doing it, who is a very known geek in the geek community.
Huge geek.
Deep. I also like that they're doing Modok this way. I love the Avengers video game, but Modok was kind of whiny in that game. Just a lot of that's kind of what he sounded like all the time. It's like, oh, dude, stop.
Yeah, which has kind of always been Modok's. Right. At least outside of the comics, that's kind of always been.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Right? Like,
it gets annoying after a while.
Right. Whereas this
great game though, play that game.
With this, it kind of leans into the whininess to the point where it's super funny.
Yeah.
Right. Like they go over the top with it, where it's trying to purposely make him whiny and kind of.
It looks like a Nickelodeon bad guy, which is great.
Exactly.
Like a bad guy, like a Ren and Stimpy type thing.
Yeah.
So, and I trust Patton Oswalt with anything comic related. I think it's long overdue that he got something. So look out for Modok in May. Just no stoppage of geek shows coming out. Or movies for that matter. Yeah, I mean, we got a lot of movies that before we go to DC, we got one more from Marvel. Spider-Man, officially, I don't know if you touched on this last week. Officially, the title is No Way Home. Officially, December 17th is the release date. Right now, only in theaters, but we'll see if that stays. We got 9 months. I think that'll be in theaters. I think we'll be back in theaters by that point.
I hope so, but
I just don't know what the theaters will be called. But
there's a lot that can happen between now and December 17th. But after trolling everybody in a funny way, all the cast of Spider-Man saying, what is it, Homewrecker and
Home Slice,
and there's all different things making fun of Home.
It was funny. Now, we did notice, and we did talk about this on the page, that those fake names, each Spider-Man logo, and we might be reading way too much into this, but each Spider-Man logo had the color scheme of a classic Spider-Man villain. So the first one it could have been a variance between Green Goblin or Lizard.
Or Vulture,
or any of the green villains.
Yeah, there's a lot of them.
One was clearly
Scorpion.
Doc Ock's colors.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the other one was clearly the colors of Mysterio.
Yeah.
So, again, might be reading too much into it. That might have been a clue. You never know with Marvel. The reveal did have a huge whiteboard, and people are reading way into that right now. There's like, hexagons on it. Like, I know. The real question is, what does No Way Home mean? Is he lost in the nexus of all realities? Is he somehow someplace that he shouldn't be? When we left him off last time, he was getting outed by J. Jonah Jameson. And then... now we're hearing that the other Spider-Men are not in the movie, which we don't believe. So, this is a big movie for Spider-Man though, and Tom Holland because, Spider-Man, the last Spider-Man film was the epilogue to Phase 3.
Right.
Okay. Now, Spider-Man has never really been on his own in the MCU as a headliner. Okay, and I don't give Far From Home that kind of credit. Far From Home was an epilogue, and it did rely heavily on Iron Man.
Yep.
Even though he wasn't in it.
Right.
As a character, right? And like the movie was about him coming into his own as Spider-Man. Now he's really got to take over that spot. Mm-hmm. So I would say it right. A lot's riding on that film, more than people realize.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean,
we'll see what Tom Holland does.
Yeah, I think Tom Holland can obviously that cast I think is great. They can live up to it. It's gonna be the script. It's gonna be the idea. I mean, and again, does No Way Home mean that he's lost in the Nexus and that maybe it's something like long shot theory here, something like Secret Wars? Do we get a symbiote tease at some point?
That'd be awesome.
Yep.
Right.
Or kind of again, remember the last movie Far From Home ended on the fact that his identity got revealed. No Way Home. Does that mean that he can't go home now? Very much kind of like leading up to the events of One More Day, which I really hope they don't do. Please don't do One More Day.
Well,
please.
we
I mean, I
know.
don't want Mephisto brought in that way. Please don't do that.
We also have to note that Venom and Morbius are canon somehow in his reality.
Yeah.
And we have no idea how that's going to play in. I still haven't seen Venom, if you can believe it.
I haven't seen it either.
And I'm going to have to at some point.
Yeah.
And then Morbius has obviously been pushed back. So again, lots of kind of cool question marks for Marvel right now. And again, like we had this year with no Marvel.
Yeah.
And they're just kind of like, oh, no, we have plenty for you.
Yeah.
You evil bastards.
Yeah, it's just one right after another. Well, again, though,
my God.
we talked about this. I actually talked about this on my TikTok about how a lot of video games got delayed last year, and you saw a lot of this with movies too, right? The pandemic kind of pushed everything back a few months.
Just gave them more time to plan, though. That's the way I look at it.
Yes, and so now everything's getting a little more condensed, and we have all this stuff to play around with now.
I love it, man.
Yeah.
Where does he get those wonderful toys?
Oh, speaking of DC,
yeah, see, you like it?
yeah. We've got three different things to talk about with DC. Let's start with the one that I am now at this point the least excited for, which is we got another tease. We believe it's the opening minute or so of the.
It's a clip from the film.
Cut.
That's all I know about it. It's some sort of clip from the film
of the Snyder Cut. We also got told that it's going to be broken up into chapters at kind of like a DVD because it's so long, or I don't know, maybe they're trying to capitalize on what the Mandalorian did.
Well,
I don't know.
If I may, so the chapters will appear on the screen, meaning like it will say chapter 1, chapter 2.
Right.
I am somewhat appreciative of that because it does make easy places to stop.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I know there's gonna be people that watch this in one sitting. There's also gonna be people that are like, I need a break or I have to go to work because I have a life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I do appreciate that. The opening scene that Ray's talking about is the Mother Cube.
Yeah.
All right. And it's got every single hero on it. And this is what I said about it, right? Before the show, we were talking about it. It's got every hero from the Justice League. And apparently there's tons of Easter eggs. And I just don't care to take the time to look for them because I know what happened already. So
yeah,
it's interesting, but it's not. This would have been a great teaser trailer for when Justice League was coming out originally, like 3 years ago.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's the thing, and that's why we're kind of just briefly touching upon this is because like this reeks of desperation at this point, in my opinion. I'm kind of sick and tired of these little teases now of the Snyder Cut. At this point, I just want the movie to come out. I know when it's coming. I get it. Like, I get it. Like, it's just, enough.
Get it out.
Like, just get it out. Like, at this point, like, I don't need any more teases. I mean, which makes me feel that either a lot of people haven't signed up for HBO Max because of this. Like, it hasn't gotten the spike.
That's a good point.
That they were hoping for from this.
That's a good point, right?
And it really feels like, because again, at the end of the day, folks, Warner Brothers doesn't care about you. They care about your money. They don't care about making you happy or doing a character justice or any of this, especially a lot of the folks still at Warner Brothers, trust me. They don't care. They care about the bottom line. And then right now, if the bottom line isn't being met, this feels like tease desperation. And again, as somebody who's seen the corporate side of Hollywood enough of his life, that's what it feels like. It feels like somebody they're not meeting a quota of some kind and they're desperate.
That's a good point, Ray. And I'll say this too. This movie, they have to be careful they don't hype it up too much. I've said this before.
Yep.
I joked on our page, like, who's ready to see half a movie we haven't seen?
Right.
I'm sure it's going to be somewhat different, but friends, at the end of the day, a majority of this movie, or at least half of it, we've seen.
Yeah.
So it's just going to be how are they weaving it together? And that's going to be very, very weird to watch.
Yeah.
Do we know the ending?
Already, yeah.
Probably. You know what I mean? So I'm sure they're going to tease stuff. I am excited to see Darkseid a bit more. Like, that stuff's very intriguing to me, very canon. It sounds like
the Granny Goodness, Desaad, like all of those characters.
They're explaining a lot more characters that weren't done justice. I am curious to see how the Joker plays into this, or if that's just like what we saw is exactly that's all we're gonna see. Yeah. But we'll see. So it's got chapters. It's gonna be 4 hours and 2 minutes, so probably 3 hours and 55 minutes before
credits and stuff. Minutes.
We've said this since the start. We're gonna give it the benefit of the doubt and wait. But I'm with Ray here. It's like, guys, stop.
Yeah. You're beating a dead horse at this point. The thing's not even out yet, and it's kind of
the other big announcement was that they're gonna release a black and white version in IMAX, and I'm like, why?
Yeah,
why are you doing that? And then Snyder said that's the version he prefers. I'm like, great. Can we please just see the movie?
Can we just? Yeah, it's like, who cares?
But who cares? I'm gonna say this again. I know we have listeners that love DC. I'm expecting at best a B on this film. At best. Keeping in mind the Justice League for me got a D. Yeah. So at best, I'm expecting a B. I'm not expecting this to blow my mind.
Yeah.
Because no DC movie outside Man of Steel for me has done anything to blow my mind. Not one of them. Yeah. In the recent years.
I would say Man of Steel and the first Wonder Woman.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I'm obviously talking post-Nolan Batman. So
right.
Yes. Yeah, I agree with that. The first Wonder Woman was really good. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. No, I mean, we'll see for sure. I mean, there was something on somebody's Facebook page that Lee and I saw that we thought was hysterical, where they had a picture of Darkseid and it said, "Finally, the second biggest villain in DC history is going to be on the big screen." And somebody asked the question, "Well, who's the first?" And the person replied, "Warner Brothers." Is the first
film. Yeah, just to support you, Ray. You know, people keep saying how they keep doing this because people keep paying to see them. These movies make billions of dollars,
right? Even
if they're not what you think they are, they're making the money they need to make.
Yeah,
and that's why they keep pushing them out the way that they're pushing them out. Now they're not making Avengers money, but that they don't care. They're making millions, or not billions. And,
they're making a profit. But again, it is. But they also have to be careful because when Marvel does well, it kind of lifts the brand across the board. Comics, everything does well. And when the DC stuff, yes, it makes money in the theaters, but it really kind of turns a lot of people off to certain parts of the product.
We have to remember that Warner Brothers killed the superhero film in the late '90s. They murdered it. We forget that too easily. That
Batman Forever, or Batman and Robin. I mean,
Batman and Robin really ended superhero films for a while. I mean, it was really bad.
Yeah.
All right, and it wasn't until Blade that we got a glimmer of anything resembling what we have now. All right, now those two movies were kind of close to each other, but when you think about like Iron Man in 2008, right?
I mean, I would say really even it wasn't until the Fox with the first X-Men film, which I think was about 5 years later.
2001.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there was a time, actually that's a good bit. Spider-Man and X-Men, that's what I would use, 2000 and 2002.
But DC stayed away from comics for 10 years after that. It wasn't until Batman Begins, and I think it was 05 or 06.
That movie was that bad. It was that bad.
Yeah.
It ended comic book movies for a while.
For a decade for DC, because that's the other thing with DC.
Keeping in mind that Fox is actually the company that brought it back.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the thing, because DC, again, and this is something that we're going to get into a little bit later, but DC, when something fails, they get very gun-shy from trying it again. This happened with Wonder Woman, actually, in the 2000s with the animated features. They didn't think Wonder Woman would sell, and that's why it was such a hard push for Patty Jenkins and Jeff Johns and Snyder to get the first Wonder Woman made. It was so hard for them to do that because DC brass and Warner Brothers brass was like, Wonder Woman doesn't sell. Nobody cares about women superheroes, because one animated film from 10 years prior that they didn't promote well didn't do well in sales compared to Batman and Superman. It's also why, and going on a tangent here, it's also why you have the holy trinity of DC Comics, which is Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. Only Wonder Woman gets rebooted on a regular basis. Whenever Batman and Superman get touched, there's a huge backlash. Right? When the New 52, DC almost killed themselves because they rebooted Batman and Superman, and everybody's like, what are you doing? They've rebooted Wonder Woman 4 times. There's like, whatever. And DC sees some of that stuff, and it's kind of like, that's why they get gun-shy.
Yeah. Well, and they're also just toneless. Like, the time for women superheroes is right now, and that's obvious.
Yeah. And now they're trying to make up for lost time. That actually leads into our next topic, which is now they've announced a Jaime Reyes Blue Beetle movie, which is a big deal, obviously. Blue Beetle's been several people over the years, but the most recent one and the most powerful one is Jaime Reyes, who, of course, is Hispanic. and he's going to get it sounds like they're going to do a very true origin story to him, how the alien scarab bonds with him, and how he has to deal with that as a teenager. Sounds like a fun superhero coming of age film. Very, very early in production. It's only been announced. And the other thing that they're talking about now, and this is a much bigger deal.
This is a major deal. This is it's bigger than that.
Yeah. Oh,
I don't even know how to quantify this. This is a it's like The Rock says. This is like a hierarchy changing event.
Yeah, so J.J. Abrams has been brought on to produce, and Ta-Nehisi, and I hope I'm saying this right, Ta-Nehisi Coates, who, for those of you who don't know, he's a writer who used to write for Time Magazine. He won the National Book of the Year Award in 2015 for his nonfiction work Between You and Me. He also did some work. He wrote Black Panther miniseries for Marvel in 2016. Also did the first 25 issues of their 2018 run with Black Panther. He also did 25 issues of Captain America. So he's been in the comic book world. He's written a lot. This is his first movie foray, but he's been brought on to write. And this has brought up the subject. This has been talked about a lot lately. Is this the time that DC is going to do a Black Superman? You have somebody who's very much got their, in quotes, has their hand on the pulse of civil rights and of equality and all of this. And, Lee and I talk about this a lot in the show. Obviously, representation matters hugely in film and cinema. And there is no bigger character than Superman, folks. Again, Superman, the age of superheroes starts with Superman in 1938. He was the first superhero. So to make him black, this is a big, big deal. And, of course, there have been people on both sides of the argument who are for it, who are against it. Some arguments you can make some validity for, and some are just people being stupid. But this is a really big deal if they decide to go that route. And there's so much to go to with this story, because are they going to do one of the Black Superman from continuity? Are they going to do Earth 2 Val Zod if they do decide to go with Black Superman? Or are they going to go with Earth 23 Calvin Ellis, who ends up becoming president, kind of in a way, a guy kind of like Barack Obama, but he's black. He's a Superman as well. He's Black Superman. So are they going to do one of those characters? Or
John Henry. Yeah.
What was that, Lee?
The reign of the Superman, John Henry.
Yeah, exactly. That would be Steel. Of course, which
I know, but they could do that. Is what I'm saying.
Oh, for
He's
sure.
Still Superman.
I would love if they redid Steel. Yeah. I mean, Shaq just didn't cut it back in '97. Let's be honest.
It was a good try.
It was a good try. Shaq is a lot of things, but an actor is not one of them. But one of the big things is, and this is where a lot of people kind of get their feathers ruffled. Are they going to make Clark Kent black? And if they do that, there's a big argument here. One of the things is that we mentioned the box office before. If people stay away from this film because they're butthurt because suddenly you made a change to Superman, what'd you do? And the film doesn't do well financially, this could make DC gun shy from doing more minority superheroes in the future. Right? Again, they've proven that that's their mentality before when things fail, whether it's Batman or Wonder Woman or whatever. When something new doesn't work, they get very gun shy from trying it again. So there are people who are making the argument that they're worried that if they go that route, and again, you have a writer who's never written a movie before, that this could set them back, at least in terms of DC Comics. They might not get Jon Stewart Green Lantern. They might not get other black superheroes. We have Black Lightning, the TV show, but you might not see him in film or something, right? You might Static Shock, right? Like there's other black superheroes. You're having the rebirth of Milestone Comics happening right now in DC. Does this, Icon and Hardware, do these guys basically their chance at a movie get like flushed down the toilet if Black Superman fails? Again, we still also don't know for sure. This is just what's rumored to be going on. That is an argument. I don't think it's very valid. I think that look, if Warner Brothers does that, then it just shows how much they're full of crap when they talk about equality and representation and all that other stuff, because at the end of the day, it really matters more to them. Again, folks, they don't care about you, they care about your money. There's also the other argument that, of course, that if Superman is black and they give him the traditional Clark Kent origin story, and this is something that we've been talking about, obviously for a while here in the country, but especially the last year or so with the push for equality and the shining of a light on a lot of the issues that have been going on since George Floyd and whatnot. The black experience in America is different from the white experience in America. Does Clark Kent being raised as a black baby in Kansas automatically make this character different for when he's white Clark Kent, and then how do you take the risk of showing that on film, or do you have him or do you gloss over it? And in that case, are you then not doing justice to the opportunity of having a black Superman? I don't know the answers to this because, again, part of my privilege is the fact I just want a good story, right? But that's part of my privilege, right? As a white guy, you know what I mean? Like, I can care more just about the story. But for people who this is supposed to be a representation, finally getting a representation of the biggest superhero, what does this mean to them? And that's a lot of pressure. And again, this is a very thin line that somebody like Ta-Nehisi Coates has to skate if they decide to go that route and do Black Superman. Lee, what are your some thoughts? I kind of went on a bit of a rant there, trying to just kind of show kind of a lot of the different angles and arguments that are going on right now, because the internet, of course, exploded when this was rumored.
Yeah, I don't think DC has the kryptonite to make him Clark Kent. If I'm going to be perfectly honest with you, I think they're going to make it a different version of Superman if they do it. Look, here's the deal. There's like multiple layers to this. One is Warner Brothers mature enough to handle this? 2 is the audience mature enough to handle this? And then 3 is, are the writers and the producers mature enough to write this? Because this is what I'll say. If we're talking equality and representation, then this movie has to bring people together, not apart. All right? And the thing is that, and again, I don't think Marvel has done this. I don't think most of the major film studios have done this, but I also don't have any interest in shaming the other way, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Right? I'm all about representation. I honestly don't care what color or race or gender Superman really is, to be honest with you. I'm going to say kind of something you said a minute ago. I just want the story to be good. Right? That doesn't mean I'm ignoring what it could mean to the African American or people of color, that community. Right. So look, bring it back down to the character. Superman's supposed to stand for hope. Right. Superman's supposed to stand for being something larger than ourselves, something to strive for. And we haven't had a leader in this country that's done that for a long time on either side of the gamut. That's true. Not one that's unified. I'm sure there's people on both sides of the aisle think, well, my leader was great. We need an American leader, and again, look, I love America. I don't hide that. I'm very pro-America. I'm a fan of our country. Got a lot of problems, a lot of things to fix, but I am not anything less than patriotic about our country. I love living here. All right. But this is meant not to be geeky, but it's going to sound geeky. The world needs Superman right now. Yeah. And we don't have him. All right. And I love Henry Cavill, but we don't have that unifying force. Yeah. Truth, justice, and the American way. They've taken the American way out of the character. It's just kind of truth and justice now. I would love it if they made an African-American Superman that stands for truth, justice, and the American way. Yeah. That would be incredibly inspirational to me. All right. Whether he's Clark or somebody else. Right. All right. I think it would actually be cool to have both a white and black Superman share the screen. Now, there's going to be people that say that kind of misses the point, but I don't have a problem with that either. I'm just vocalizing my opinion now.
To do right? Clark Kent and Val Zod or something. Yeah.
I don't have a problem with that. I like I said, and it's not that one's leaning on the other. It's they're together and they're unified.
It's like Peter Parker and Miles Morales.
Yeah, I get tired of the seesaw, Ray. I just get tired of it going back and forth, and it's like, look, you can feel free to disagree with me out there. There's plenty of common ground here. There's just plenty of it. It's just not a lot of logic. Yeah. And we're being fed the extremes of both sides. So, I'm not going to say I don't care if Superman's black. I think it needs to happen. I actually do. Right. But I want it to be, a good message for everyone. Unite us. That's what Superman's supposed to do. I mean, again, for those of you who don't read the comics, it's like, he represents the best of us. I love Man of Steel. I've said that many times. One of the things I think that got so right in Man of Steel was Jor-El. All right? And that's not a knock at the original Jor-El.
Marlon Brando.
Yeah, who was phenomenal. In fact, I think it's a crime they cut a lot of his dialogue out because there was a lot of stuff there.
Superman 2 and stuff, yeah.
Right. If you watch the Richard Donner cut of Superman 2, you really get some deep cuts of Christopher Reeve explaining to his father why he needs to be Superman and why the people need him. Because if you remember in Superman, Jor-El says you cannot show them who you are.
Yeah.
Like that was, and they kind of just left that alone.
Yeah.
And in Superman 2, the Dawn of Cut, he explains why the people need something to strive for. But my favorite line, and now I'm going on the soapbox now, but my favorite line in Man of Steel, man, is, they will stumble, they will run after you, they will stumble, they will fall, but in time they will join you in the light.
Yeah.
I'm inspired just by saying that now.
Yeah.
We need a leader. I would love it to be a real person, but damn it, if it's Superman, I'm fine with that too.
Yeah.
All right?
Art can inspire people just as much as a person can.
So that's where I'm at. I mean, and yes, there are deeper conversations to be had there about race and representation. I'm not trying to gloss over that. I'm just telling you what I think is.
Yeah.
I would love a unifying figure that everyone can get behind, and that this polarization can just loosen up a bit, because it's ridiculous now. It's completely ridiculous. The fact that you had to have these conversations with people is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And again, we're going to see it again when Little Mermaid comes out. They're making, for those who don't know, they're making Little Mermaid, and Little Mermaid's going to be black.
Yeah.
And there was an uproar, but you can't make her black. Ariel's not black. And it's like, oh my God. It's a mermaid. It's not real.
Yeah, it's
Superman's not real. Surprise.
Well, and again, it goes back. It goes back to your original point. Is the audience mature enough to handle it? And some of us are. Like some of us are, but I don't know if everyone is right now. And some of those folks are stumbling. Right, they're stumbling towards that light.
Look, I don't want to make it about that. You're not wrong. Okay, this is all I'm going to say is that you got to push things forward, and when you push things forward, it can often seem extreme to some people. But it was extreme for us to not drink out of different water fountains just 60 years ago, 70 years ago. That was extreme, right? Like, that we had separated schools and colleges. That was extreme when they wanted to end that. Now it's almost insulting that we didn't do that earlier. So that's what I'm saying. You got to push things, and sometimes art does that, pushes things forward. But you got to keep things balanced, and this country does have a way of balancing itself out. If you take a macro approach at our history, it does balance itself out, and things do progress. We've talked about this. It moves forward. Yeah. All right? I can say this. I think we need a black Superman to move forward. All right? I don't have a problem saying that.
It won't hurt. I'll definitely say that. I mean,
it shouldn't hurt.
Well,
it shouldn't be a problem.
Well, yes. I know what I'm saying. Like, there are people out there who take it almost as a personal affront.
And don't go see the movie.
Well, but again, and that goes back to the original
point.
Point. And the fear is that if not enough people see the movie, will this then make because folks, Warner Brothers is a corporation. They don't care about you. They care about their money. Will that keep them from doing it again?
It may, and like I said, that's why I said it's important that they write it well. Yeah. But look, man, if Warner Brothers does that, then there will be a conversation about that too. And honestly, Marvel will probably come in and save the day. Which look again. We talk about DC has this really back-asswards way of making it sound like they're the first to have an idea. You know what I mean? Like look, man. Marvel, Black Panther's a major strategy. It shows that it can work. Obviously, not just work but thrive.
It was it was the highest-grossing movie of that year, I believe.
Right, and it shows that everybody, regardless of race, religion, race, any of that, love this stuff. All right, but to DC's credit, like they're bringing in The Rock to play Black Adam. They're gonna have a man of color leading DC. I've said this before. Dwayne Johnson is not coming in to come in second. He's coming in. He's the biggest movie star in the world. He wants to take over, and he's throwing a gauntlet down, saying, "I'm gonna beat Superman." Yeah, he's saying that out loud, and no one seems to be taking notice of that, which is incredible to me. Yeah. But there you go. It's a lot of thoughts, but those are my thoughts.
Yeah, no, it's a good conversation to have. Obviously, this conversation needs to continue
because it's a conversation. Yeah, look at that. We had a conversation. We didn't argue or scream at each other. We had a conversation. No, it's amazing.
You need to be willing to discuss ideas, and you need to be able to
a conversation.
Yeah, you need to be able. Again, this is how we learn and grow and move forward as a people. Is to have conversations and and also again, Lee and I, obviously we have a certain perspective that's probably different from a lot of other folks out there, but please, we want you all to chime in. Don't forget to comment on the show, on the episode. Let us know what your thoughts are on things like this. We always love talking to you. Just obviously be respectful. Mention The Rock. quickly, moving on to our next subject.
I did.
Very briefly, let's touch upon, speaking of huge successes, Young Rock.
Great show.
It is a terrific show. The first 2 episodes are on. It is delightful. They're on Hulu right now. If you haven't been watching them on NBC,
must-watch television.
It's absolutely terrific to watch them. The Rock, his sarcastic humor is terrific. For those of you who love Randall Park as Jimmy Woo, he's basically takes on the role of an interviewer with The Rock, as if The Rock is running for a fictional presidential run in 2032. It's of course absolutely hysterical. And it shows segments from his life. The first episode gave you a brief glimpse into his 3 major stages, pretty much each one 5 years apart or so, from his youth, his early high school days, and then his early college days. The second episode kind of goes more into focuses in on the high school days and kind of some real. It's very sitcom-y in some of the lessons learned, and also there was also some really touching moments where The Rock, they talk about like why The Rock stood up for his dad, or stood by his dad, and he just said it was like, because it's my dad. Like even though he recognized that like what his dad was doing was like wasn't great, that he was constantly embellishing the truth, which kind of got him in trouble, and sometimes his mom in trouble, and obviously himself in trouble. But it shows the love that he has, and the first episode was dedicated to his dad and everything. Like it's a really great look at his life, and it is a really fascinating and fun story with a lot of heart and a lot of humor.
It's delightful. All I'm going to say is go watch it.
Yeah.
If you like The Rock in any way, go watch this. Even if you don't like him, go watch it. It's just fun TV.
It is. It is very good television. For sure. Quickly moving on now from that, our last big comic book story of the day is...
Ooh, it's a good one. It's a juicy one.
Yes, last Ronin number 2. We teased it last week. We are ready to give our full review. Lee and I have read it.
Spoiler alert.
Yes.
Spoiler
Yeah,
alert.
lots of spoilers. Of course, our good friend Kevin Eastman wrote it. It's the idea of the Turtles in the far future. The only one left standing is Michelangelo, and he's determined to take down the Foot Clan once and for all. This issue... the first issue ended with him basically being knocked out. He's found by an older April O'Neil. And what's great is first of all, they explain how Mikey's able to survive way more punishment than he would have when he was younger. They talk about his mutation is kind of continuing, and so he has like a advanced healing factor now, which is
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that they and this is the brilliance of Eastman, is that they said like when they were teenagers, their mutation wasn't done.
Yeah.
And he's even stronger and bigger, and he's drawn much bigger. Like he's drawn menacing in a lot of ways.
Yeah. No.
And you can tell he's older.
Yeah, you can
Go
tell
ahead. Sorry,
he's older, like pushing his middle ages now or whatever. And we also find out that April and Casey Jones had a daughter who they also named Casey Jones. It's the great thing about the name Casey, kind of ambiguous, so it can kind of go either way.
Say, this is our random drop-in for our fan, Casey Owasco, who last week ripped his shirt off to say, it's me, and I'm calling him out again. Casey Owasco, let's see what you got. Now, back to the Mutant Ninja Turtle.
I hope that wasn't like a good shirt that he ripped apart last week.
I don't care. It was great TV. Is all that
it was
matters.
it was a great video. It was a great TikTok or whatever he did. But like I
no Diane this week. Casey, let's see what you got. Back to the last Ronin.
Yes, but yeah. So that was great. April. I guess they teased that there was a big battle there at the end. They also show the death of Raphael as he's the first one to go. No surprise, he charges head. Master Splinter is actually the first one to go. There seemed to be a truce between the Turtles and the Foot Clan, and Karai, who of course has always been hinted at to be Shredder's daughter, illegitimate daughter, has risen to the top of the Foot Clan now. So Shredder is supposedly gone, and basically what ends up happening is
jumped him.
Is that Karai ends the truce, attacks the Turtles in the sewers. Splinter's mortally wounded. Typical Raph, charges headlong at the Foot Clan, takes out a ton of foot soldiers. There's blood everywhere. It's super graphic. It's awesome.
It really is a lot of blood.
Yeah.
Like a lot of blood.
It is awesome.
Yeah.
And then it gets very close. Yeah. Raph almost takes out Karai single-handedly. But and I actually thought like that he was going like honestly, he had a great plan, but if it wasn't Raph, he might have actually been able to do it because he pulls her down into the water where obviously the Turtles have an advantage, but somehow Karai is able to get her sword around and kills Raph under the water when you see just the Sai kind of peacefully drifting into the sea, and it's like,
It's dark, man.
It's super dark.
And he does get a stab in, though, with his side.
Yeah, he does hurt her, but I thought, like, all he had to do was just, like, hold her underwater, and, like, he could have drowned her, and, like, but, again, it's Raph. He's not the sharpest turtle. He might be the strongest, but he's not the sharpest. And so then obviously, and they also hint at that there's something big that happens, that, you know, Mikey's surprised that April's still alive. April's surprised that Mikey's still alive. April has lost an arm and a leg. It's hinted at that Casey Jones is gone. Yeah,
this is like 15 to 18 years after they're teenagers. That's because the daughters, Casey Jones, the daughter, looks to be a late teen.
Yeah.
So it is, some time has passed since whatever transpired.
I mean, and Mikey even, and April's like, where have you been? And Mikey even shows, like, he went on this journey as the last surviving turtle. He kind of went off into the wilderness, was kind of like, he was ready to die.
Yeah, with Splinter's journal. It was actually, so for those of you who are classic Turtle fans, it was drawn in black and white, which is total throwback to the original Turtles. It was really kind of cool how they do this. It's really the most innovative comic I've seen in a while, Ray. I don't know if you feel the same way.
Yeah, it's really well done in terms of how they show different time periods, different art styles. Again, there's it tugs on your heartstrings. It's very graphic at points, but it's also very emotional. It's really well written. It's really well written.
It really is. It really is. And like I said, like they kind of break a lot of the things you think about with Turtles. Like, you know, Mikey doesn't walk around with his eye stuff on. Like it's just mostly just him without wearing anything around his eyes.
Which again, kind of also to symbolize, because he also has he kind of talks to his brothers. You don't know if they're hallucinations or ghosts or whatever, but that he is the embodiment now of all the turtles, right? Like he always wear his eye bandana, because his domino mask, because he's all that remains. Well, he is a Ronin. He is the last of his clan.
What I really liked about this one, again, if you haven't picked these up, please go check them out. They're called The Last Ronin. Yeah. It's so good. But there's this great scene with him and Casey Jones, the daughter, where Casey Jones is like, you're the fun one, right? You know, and he's just like, this isn't the Mikey that you remember from the movies or the cartoon. He's not happy. He is not fun, and he's grown up.
No, he even talked about he was suicidal at several points.
And he's deadly. And he's super deadly.
And even this was supposed to be a suicide mission. Like this was his end, supposed to be his end. But now you also kind of get the idea that, like, Casey Jones, the daughter, wants to learn from Mikey, that she has friends that are part of the resistance against the Foot Clan that wants to learn from Mikey. So they're setting up a really big, interesting push here. Not to mention the last page, the tease. Again, this is the second of 5 issues, folks. It's long. It's about twice as long as a normal comic, so it also costs twice as much. But it's only 5-issue miniseries.
It's totally worth it.
Yeah,
totally
for sure. April O'Neil pulls out the head of the Fugitoid, Professor Honeycutt. For those of you who don't know, this is the guy who, when Turtles went into space to fight the Triceratons, to keep them from invading Earth, the Triceratons, who are, by the way, the mortal enemies of the Krang. By the way, the brain Krang, who's an intergalactic conquering space force, is also, he's called Krang, but his species is also Krang. So just so we all are all on the same page here.
That's like putting 2 train stations named Penn Station next to each other. Crazy.
New York, New Jersey. But yes, there's Newark Penn Station, then there's New York Penn Station.
And they're one stop apart. It's the two. They're yes. You wouldn't get lost with that.
Anyway, and then there's the Bus Depot Penn Station. Anyway, So there's the Krang versus Triceratons. Professor Honeycutt, he basically develops intergalactic travel, but before he can get killed, he downloads his brain into the body of a robot, sends the robot to Earth to get help, finds the turtles and the robot go to space. Anyway, 20 years here in the future, after all these adventures, April has the head of the robot for some reason, and that's how the comic book ends.
Right.
Spoiler alert!
A clear nod to people that really know these storylines. Like, Ray might have a clue. Yeah. But no, look, it's great. We asked Kevin Eastman. We were a little surprised in the first comic that they revealed it was Mikey. Yeah. Because we kind of thought like that you wouldn't know which turtle it was till the end, and like that's how they were going to play it.
Right.
And Kevin did say to us, as you read, you'll understand why it had to be Mikey.
Yeah.
And I'm already understanding why it has to be him.
Yes.
And it's awesome. Yeah. It's so awesome. And you're starting to realize that the Michelangelo we had is just this really kind of immature kid.
Yeah.
And you're seeing who he's becoming. And then it makes you ask all these other questions about what would Raph, Donnie, and Leo have become. It's just really, really good. It's obviously grown up. It's not for your kids.
Yeah.
All right. So, but if you are a comic fan or a Turtles fan, and you're just looking for something fresh that is really dark and deep and juicy, and you're gonna love it, check out The Last Ronin.
Yeah.
You can get it on Comixology, or you can order it online. It's worth every cent, and I have not said that about a comic
in a long time. Yeah. No, it's true. It's very, very true. It's really, really well done, folks. It's awesome. It's fantastic. So that wraps up our comic, movie, and TV section. Now moving on to video games. We've got a lot of video game stuff that happened this week. Most of it disappointing. But we've had a couple. We had a disappointment with the Nintendo Direct. Sony did a State of Play this week. This as well was very disappointing. The PlayStation State of Play was, they showed off games that we already basically knew were coming. They showed off longer trailers. They confirmed some release dates, which was good. There's a game called Kena now coming out, or Kena, and it's kind of like their take on Ori and the Blind Forest, but it's a girl and it's got magic. It's coming out in the end of August. But we knew Returnal was coming. We knew Deathloop was coming. We knew all these games were coming. They showed off. Most of what we saw was they're like, Crash Bandicoot on PS4, now on PS5. Final Fantasy VII Remake on PS4, now it's on PS5. And everybody's just kind of like, where's the new stuff? Like, what do you guys...
Oh, we didn't make anything new.
Yeah, pretty much nothing new. They did show one game called Sifu, which was kind of interesting, where the basic concept has come out that basically you play a young martial artist, but every time you die, you come back a little bit older and you're a little more powerful. So that you start off as like an apprentice kung fu master, and then by the end you are the master, and then you have an easier time getting through the game. But I'm also curious, if you die too many times, is it just game over? Like, if you die 100 times,
so.
Like, yeah, like,
so. Yeah.
It's like you have 50 lives to get through the game, because like once you hit like 77 years old, like, you're done. Yeah. So I'm kind of curious to see how that works. But that was a small thing and that was like the best that they had. And like, it's an interesting concept, but that's not a system. That's not going to get me super excited. That's not a system seller. So Sony, crap the bed with that.
I will reiterate, this is the last PlayStation.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm going to keep saying that until it becomes true. This is going to be the last PlayStation. PS5 is the final PlayStation. Maybe. But one thing, and then there's a rumor about something else that some folks are kind of being like, the VR front's been a little quiet. There's a rumor that they are working on a new, more powerful headset, Sony is, for the PS5, which would explain, for those of you who have a PS5, there's a different input for the PSVR into the PS5 than there was in the PS4. In fact, actually, the first thing they do when you get your PS5 is like, if you have there's a little thing in there, a little paper that says, if you have a PSVR headset, go to this website to get yourself a free adapter, which I have now, for your PSVR to your PS5, which makes me think that they are indeed planning on connecting something else there. They are making a new headset. But to Lee's point, and to also to like, the PSVR did fine. Right, it didn't do gangbusters, but it did fine. And VR is hanging around; it's not dead. Is PS5 VR gonna be the thing that gets it in people's living room? Is it gonna be out earlier in the console generation than PS4 VR was, which was also part of the thing that hurt it? And honestly, PS4 VR had 3 games that were great, like Moss, Eagle Flight, and Iron Man. Like, that was it. Even Vader Immortal kind of sucked. I'm not gonna lie. So what are they doing there? But again, we didn't get that in any of the conference or anything, any of the presser. It's just because, why would Sony want to excite people about their new console? Probably because nobody can find it still. It still can't be found in stores. They're waiting for the pandemic to subside for some reason. I mean, and like, I don't know if this put them all in development hell or not, but they're waiting. They're waiting for something, and we'll see what that is.
Waiting for Godot? I don't know. All right, anyway. But yeah, no, they're waiting for, like Lee said, they're not hitting the ground running, really, either console. But supposedly Microsoft now is going to be doing something at the end of March, and this is a big chance for them, in 3 weeks, supposedly. Maybe to come out swinging. Maybe something with Halo. Maybe something with Gears of War.
I was just going to ask you, Ray, what's the thing that needs to come out from them that's going to be like, wow, it's going to change the game?
It's got to be big first-party stuff. I mean, that,
right.
And again, they also just acquired Bethesda, right? Do they show Elder Scrolls 6? right? Do you show something like and then say something like, yeah, oh yeah, by the way, Elder Scrolls 6 Microsoft exclusive? Because that would be such a killing blow to the PlayStation 5 here again in the beginning of the console generation. Like that's a Mike Tyson uppercut kind of shot. Do they come out with something like that? Because if they were to do that in like now, that would be huge. That would be huge. But at the very least, you need Halo and Gears of War in this presser if you're doing something at the end of March. Definitely need something like that. Somebody who did have a good press conference to show you how it's done was Pokemon. Which, again, Nintendo owns a fairly sizable share, but not...
Still the best theme song out there.
There it is. There it is. Yeah, so so Pokemon did at a great presser their 25th anniversary this year, and they came out with everything everybody wanted. 15th anniversary of Pokemon Diamond and Pearl. They're getting full-blown remakes for the Switch.
Hey, Ray?
Yeah.
Ray.
Yeah.
Sorry, I could not do that. It is.
Yes. That alone,
Pokemon.
That
Okay,
remake
I'll
announcement
stop.
alone would have been enough. They also showed off more stuff for Pokemon Snap, which we know, of course, is coming at the end of April. And the Pokemon Diamond Pearl remakes, by the way, by the end of this year, they announced it'll be a Q4 release. And then the other thing they announced, and I wonder, because there's a game that I kickstarted a while ago called Kindred Fates, which basically the idea was an open-world Pokemon game. Original characters, original lore, all this other stuff. Pokemon was basically like, we've got the resources of Nintendo and the Pokemon Company. Open world Pokemon game, Pokemon Legends Arceus, going back to the Sinnoh region. That'll be out a year from now. They said it'll be out within the next 365 days. They are targeting a Q1 2022 release, and typically they don't do that Pokemon unless they are going to probably hit that or very close to that. So that is a huge deal because they'll also, again, probably undercut Kindred Fates, unfortunately. This game got Kickstarted, got $700,000 in 30 days. They got more than enough money. I'll get both because that's just what I do. But Pokemon Legends Arceus, this is a big deal. It's going back to, like, even the Pokeballs are like, this is ancient Pokemon times. This is ancient Sinnoh. So the Pokemon are a little different. How you catch Pokemon is
I like
different.
that.
And
I like that they're growing the lore. That's pretty cool.
yeah, and they called Pokemon Diamond and Pearl remakes. They are calling this a pre-make. And even the Pokeballs are different. They look like they have like little latches on them and stuff instead of like the actual technology. Like it's like a medieval Pokeballs. All for it. It looks really awesome. So Pokemon, showing everyone how it's done, how you do your press conferences. Probably the biggest announcements of the week on the video game front for sure. That, and also going back to rumors, supposedly the next Nintendo system is going to be called the Super Nintendo Switch.
Which is awesome. Let's just be perfectly awesome. Awesome. That's just awesome. It's just awesome. I hope they do that. Like, a lot of people are like, oh, Super Nintendo Switch, I'd have to buy that.
Yeah. No, for sure.
For multiple reasons.
For sure.
I mean, so I hope they do that.
If that is the next Nintendo console, because people forget, the Switch has already been out for 4 years. Typically, Nintendo sticks very hard to a 4 to 6 year, usually 5 to 6. The Wii U is a bit of a outlier. Usually a 5 to 6 console cycle, which is possibly also the reason why they're holding on Breath of the Wild, because if suddenly Super Nintendo Switch has a fall 2022 release date, but it launches with Breath of the Wild 2, like you said, Lee, then suddenly it's something you kind of have to get. And wouldn't that be smart to have a console exclusive game with your new console when it launches? Wouldn't that be genius?
Nintendo is the Captain Marvel of the video game world. Yeah. When there's this battle going on, it's Friday. What are they firing at? Something entered the upper atmosphere. It's just kind of what it is. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, it's Nintendo to save the day. Yeah. You can always rely on Nintendo.
Yeah, no, for sure. They're always consistent. They always beat.
Almost.
They always beat to their own drum. They don't care what anybody else is doing to a degree. Obviously, like, you know, they did their take on VR with the Nintendo Labo. They did their take on things with graphics and online play and all this other stuff, but they do it to their standards, and kind of like Miyamoto says, it's like it has to be fun first.
They've always gotten it.
Yeah,
they've always gotten it, and they're not afraid to try stuff, even if it falls on its face. The opposite of Warner Brothers.
Yeah, exactly. It's not fun, Lee. As we now move on into our sports section.
Oh, jeez. Yes, Russia.
We are gonna talk about that in a second. Russia is terrible, and screw Russia. But we're gonna kick off with Major League Baseball Spring Training. Just briefly mention that started today. Yeah, exactly. It's not fun. There's your reaction, Lee. That's what I was looking for. Yeah. Major League Baseball Spring Training started.
Let's talk about real things. When does the show come out again on Xbox so I could play real baseball?
April 20th. So we're about 7 weeks away. Yeah.
I'm really excited about that because that's going to be more of a baseball season for me than the real one.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. So baseball started today. It's basically all the backups. A lot of folks. I already had folks texting me. Yankees lost 6-4 to Toronto. I'm like, who cares? Who cares? It was literally the AAA team out there. Like. You had some starters,
you don't know that preseason games matter, you idiot! Oh my god! Listen, Ray, do you know who won the 2006 Spring Training Pineapple League?
I'm gonna guess the Phillies.
I have no idea. I don't care.
I don't know either.
I don't even think that we're in the Grapefruit League, are we? I don't even know.
Yeah, you're right.
That's what it was called.
I don't know either. It's spring training. Who cares?
It's Clearwater, or as you say normally outside of Philadelphia, Clearwater. I do love that Bryce Harper showed up with a Clearwater. It says Clearwater, WOODER shirt on, and he had a Fanatic bat.
That is funny.
Thus ends the highlights of the 2021 baseball season for me.
Yeah, it's spring training. It's when young players get a chance to make a roster. It's goofing around. It doesn't matter.
I'm going to say it again, Ray. I am really pissed off at baseball. I'm not going to repeat my whole spiel. If you listen to the show, you know how I feel about it. I'm really mad at baseball. And it's going to take a while for me to want to watch again. And I love baseball. Yeah. That's the other part of it, too. So that's why I'm more excited for the video game than the actual season.
Yeah.
I'm tired of having my heart broke.
Yeah. Hopefully, I mean, again, so baseball spring training started. Cool.
Great.
The real season starts in 31 days. Season. Maybe we'll actually have some real stories then. But we did have to stick that in there. Now, let's go to something else we hate.
Can I transition to hockey?
Sure.
So the NHL, last week we spoke about COVID protocol and COVID was overrunning the league. Seems to have gotten that under control. Yeah. It seems like recently the NHL has kind of tightened down a little bit on their COVID protocol. Teams seem to be buying in, or whatever bug was passed around the league has seemed to dissipate.
Yeah.
I don't believe there's too many teams right now on COVID protocol, if at all. In fact, to my knowledge, most athletes are back, which is good. That's good news.
Yes.
Now, ironically enough, some of the weirdest stories have happened in the last week in the NHL.
Yeah.
I'll start with the bigger one, which is Terry Panarin, the bread man.
Yes.
The breadbasket of New York.
Yes.
Suddenly had to drop out of the lineup. The way I heard this story was that a young girl, an 18-year-old girl, made basically a rape accusation against him.
Yeah.
That was the first news I got, and I was like, oh, no. Then I read into this more, and it sounds like it's a hit job from Russia because Panarin is outspoken against President Putin of Russia. And let me tell you why I believe Panarin.
Yeah.
Because the Rangers almost immediately, which is unheard of, came out and said, we're standing behind Panarin.
Yeah.
Right? He took off time right away. Like, basically saying, look, I'm taking this seriously. I don't want anybody to think I'm not taking this seriously.
Right.
And again, look, if something comes out that has any evidence that he did do this,
right.
Well, we'll have to take that seriously. But it just sounds like that this is a hit job from his former government.
Which
they're known to do, by the way.
Yeah.
I do have to say that. The Russian government's known to do that.
This is Russia taking advantage of the current temperature of the United States and trying to find ways to silence their critics without going as far to actually kill anybody like they tried to do with the opposition party in Russia with Putin, where they tried to poison the opposition leader. And then when he came back to Russia after finally being healed in Germany, they imprisoned him for 10 years on nothing. So because Russia is a that's probably closest thing to a
dictatorship.
It's the closest thing to a fascist state that we have right now.
The other thing about Russia is that they are once again being banned from the Olympics. This is now the second time in a row. They will still compete under a different name. Yeah. Something to note there. And it's just incredible to me that this is happening. I mean, it's just not what the Rangers needed right now, by the way. Yeah. Not that we're ignoring the serious accusation of rape. Yeah. But from a hockey standpoint, this is horrible for New York. Yeah. Just lost their best player. Yeah. Even though they beat up on some teams last week.
Yeah, beat up on Boston, then Boston beat up on them.
Yeah, they did beat up on Boston. I haven't heard from one Boston Bruins fan since then. It's been really weird. They were really loud when they were winning, Ray. But they're just not, now that they lost a few games, they're nowhere to be found. One thing I know about New York and Philadelphia, we're just loud all the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
Oh, yeah.
Loud, whether we win or lose. But Boston's just really quiet when they lose.
Yeah.
Haven't heard anything from Pats fans or Bruins fans or Red Sox fans.
Or even Celtics fans.
Haven't heard from any of them in the last few weeks. Anyway, just wanted to...
Yeah. No,
Put
for
that
sure.
out there.
Again, if there is any weight to these accusations, obviously they need to be taken seriously. Obviously, Panarin needs...
It reminds me of the late 90s. Like, Pavel Bure mysteriously stopped playing hockey, and there was a lot of rumors that the Russian mob and government had something to do with that.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know what's going on there. All I know is that it seems like he's being done dirty. I've never seen a team publicly support a player after a rape accusation.
And even the league kind of came out pretty quickly and was like, we're going to fully investigate this, but it feels like everybody is kind of like agreeing that this is just BS. This is just
I think it's a big deal too that I don't want to take this away that Terry Panarin on his own volition pulled himself out of the lineup.
Yeah,
like nobody had to tell him to do it. That's pretty amazing actually when you think about it.
Yeah.
But listen, I hope that story turns out to be false and that he's clear because he seems like a really good human being.
Yeah.
Everything points to that, and shame on you, Russia, once again.
Yeah. Hopefully. Well, something's got to be done about Russia.
Well, also the other weird NHL story that happened last night. We're recording this on Sunday, February 28th. Jordan Binnington, you might remember him, Ray. He won the Stanley Cup a couple years ago with the St. Louis Blues.
Yep.
Got pulled last night against the San Jose Shark, who were wearing their teal retro reverse jerseys, which I love that jersey for lots of different reasons. But on his way out of the rink, started throwing punches at a bunch of the San Jose players. And they were all kind of like, what the hell are you doing? As he's going, he just lost his cool. He's throwing punches at everybody. Great quote today from the opposing goaltender, which is like, you're like 170 pounds and you're throwing fake punches. What are you doing? Get out of here. But Jordan Binnington, who has literally been kind of the bar of being cool and calm and collected. Famous line in the 2018 final, they said, are you nervous about tonight? He goes, do I look nervous? And he was just super calm and chill the whole time. And here he is last night throwing punches. So the only thing I want to bring up about him is that, I've seen this story happen before where a guy has a really hot season and then they start to decline. And I got to say, he's kind of, to me, on the verge of a slight decline if he's not careful.
Yeah.
And I don't want to see that happen.
Yeah.
But, he came out of nowhere. He's one of the major reasons that St. Louis turned that season around.
Oh, yeah. They went from worst to first.
Right, and I hope he sticks around. Like, it reminds me of Cam Ward a little bit. He won the Stanley Cup 2006.
Yeah, and then
as a rookie, just never really had another season like that again. I don't want that for Jordan Binnington. So
same thing with JSG Giguere. Same thing. Like who took the
he ended up winning eventually, but yeah, like he had that cup run in 03 with the Ducks, and he was unbelievable. He won the Conn Smythe that year as a loser.
Yeah,
and then he did end up winning the cup again in 07 with the Ducks.
Right.
But he's never that good again.
Right.
I mean, look, to be fair, the fact that they told him you have to take a couple inches off your goalie pads probably affected his career a bit. He had some of the biggest ass pads in the league in 03 before they made. So, for those who don't know, like NHL goalie pads, I think can only be, I believe it's 10 inches wide.
Right.
It's 10, and I think some of these were 12 to 14. It was insane.
Wow.
How big goalies were getting, and he had the biggest pads in the league. You look up a picture. Go look up a picture of J.S. Giguere
in 2003.
In 2003, and you'll see it just looks like this walrus in net. Yeah. All right, but I think that might have hurt him a little bit. But just a weird NHL week. Again, Flyers came back to full strength. Now they're winning games again. It's just a weird week.
Yeah.
But it's been fun, and like I said, I'm really looking forward to this continuing NHL season. It's exciting.
Yeah.
It's exciting watching the way it's unfolding.
Yeah, no, for sure. It definitely is. And again, Binnington, maybe it's just always they say it's always the quiet ones, and maybe he just snapped or whatever. And that's what
he's quiet.
Yeah, he's super quiet, and that's why me and Lee aren't actually going to do anything because we're super loud.
I'll do something.
Yeah, I might too, but
I don't know why you said that. We would totally do something.
Yeah, I mean. Of course.
If I said to you, Ray, I need you over here with a bat, no questions, you'd fly here.
Yeah.
Even in the pandemic, maybe a little more coercing during the pandemic, but you would do it.
Yeah.
And I would do it for you.
Yep.
So just I'm going to stare into the camera for a minute.
That's why you
not intimidate anybody.
You should all follow Geeks Who Like Sports.
or else.
Yeah, I get anyway. Another fun story I want to just mention, just because it's for me because it's been so long. The Knicks. I just briefly want to mention the Knicks.
The Knickerbockers?
The Knickerbockers are at 500. This is the latest they've been at 500 in the course of a season in years. But being 500 this year means
that's awesome. Yeah.
They are right now currently the 4 seed in the East. And with a 17-17 record, I don't want to jinx things. I'm knocking on wood over here. But if this is how, again, folks, that means that's a home court first round series if the Knicks hold on to the 4 seed. Now, I still don't think
at Madison Square Garden.
At Madison Square Garden, I don't think they're going to beat the Nets, and I don't think they're going to beat the other couple of teams, the Sixers. But could they beat the Raptors in the first round and make it to the second round of the playoffs this year?
Now, Ray, I'm going to give you another gift here. Can you please pull up your internet browser and go to the NBA standings? Okay, so the Knicks are currently 17-17.
Yes,
if I'm correct. I want you to go back to last season's standings.
Oh yeah, I think they were 17-42.
They are 1 win away from eclipsing last season already.
Yeah.
Which is great
because
it's about not even halfway through the season yet.
Yeah.
So they were 17-42, I believe that's correct.
Yeah, at this point. Because
so
remember the NBA season started later this year because of the pandemic. So but
it's amazing. It's amazing that's growth. And to be fair, your new GM promised that.
Yeah.
So he is delivering as of now.
New coach, new GM, and then the Knicks, honestly, it feels like the 90s in a way because it feels like this is a team that has an identity built around defense.
Identity. Thank you. Finally. We talked about this on another show that they have lost their identity.
Yeah.
That they were lost in being the Knicks.
Yeah.
Oh, we're the Knicks. And it's like the Knicks suck. Yeah. Move on from that. Yeah. And it looks like they've done that. There's something different now. That's why I said the Knickerbockers.
Yeah, no,
for
sure.
I think they should totally readopt
I don't know if they still are, but for a long time, we're the number 1 defense in the league. They're still in the top 5 for sure, even if they're not number 1 right now. And they won again last night. They beat the Pacers 110-107 on a last-second steal by Frank Ntilikina. I can't never say his name because there's just way too many weird consonants thrown in there. But it's thrown in weird places. It's consonants, but they're in weird places, folks. But he made a last-second steal, and that sealed the wheel. This was a guy that people were saying was a bust, and he had the game-winning steal for the Knicks last night. Derrick Rose hit a half-court 3 at the half to give the Knicks the lead at the half. You got guys and Julius Randle, who the Lakers thought was a bust, is an all-star for the first time in his career this year. Now, obviously, maybe it's just the stars aligning. I do think Tom Thibodeau is one of the best coaches in the league, and I think he's always been very underrated. He took the Bulls pretty far 10 years ago for a team that only really had Derrick Rose. Now, obviously, Derrick Rose is a very different player now 10 years later. But as a Knicks fan, and I've said this before, I never thought that at this point in the season I'd be saying the Knicks look better than the Rangers.
The surprise on your face is pretty cool about it, too. Speaking, by the way, I'm sorry to throw back to hockey. Did want to give a quick shout out to Henrik Lundqvist, who is back on the ice training.
Yeah.
And which is amazing. He just had open heart surgery, apparently. He had heart surgery. I don't know if it was open.
Yeah.
But he's back on the ice training, so good for that. Yeah, and, Ray, quick geek moment within basketball. Do you think that the Knicks and the Sixers, and I'm purposely calling that, do you think that there are any other teams out there that people don't actually know what their real name is? Because the Knicks and the Sixers are actually not their names.
No, yeah, I mean, it's the Knickerbockers and the 76ers.
76ers.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think, are there other teams out there where people don't know the full name? Because I'm guarantee if you went on the street and asked somebody, what's the Knicks and the Sixers' full name? I bet you not everybody would know.
No, most people do not know that it's the New York Knickerbockers.
Yeah,
they do not
in the Philadelphia 76ers.
Right. I mean, maybe the San Francisco 49ers, same problem. I mean, I think football's a little different.
The Niners?
Yeah, they just call them the Niners. I mean, they run into the same problem as the Sixers.
Maybe. I mean, it says 49 on their helmet.
That is true. Right.
The Knicks and Sixers say Knicks and Sixers.
Right.
I mean, there is a Sixers jersey that says like 76.
Yeah.
On it. But I found that funny. I'm thinking I'm going through sports. Like, I don't know any other teams that don't go by their actual name.
Yeah, I mean, there used to be the Lightning.
The A's. The A's might be it.
Yeah, the Athletics. There you go. That's very true. The A's.
Yeah.
I was going to say there is a jersey for the Lightning that sometimes just has bolts across, but I'm sure everybody knows that's the alternate.
I like calling them the Ning.
the Ning?
Yeah, it sounds like a Flash Gordon villain. And I just go, I was reading the stats the other night. I was like, the Ning beat the Avs. I just did all their nicknames. Right? The Ning beat the Cats. Who are the Cats? The Panthers. They're not Cats. I know. They don't know what they're doing. But actually, they're in first place. The Florida Panthers are one of the best teams in the NHL this year. Surprise, surprise, surprise. Yep. What happens when you have a good GM and a good coach? You win games.
Unbelievable.
Oh, my God. Unless you have Tom Brady, then you just win.
Yeah. I will also say this, and it is something that we also need to keep an eye on with the time of COVID, is that I think the reason why the Rangers have started to play better, in particular, and I think the reason why the Knicks have also kind of gone on a little bit of a run, is that Madison Square Garden about a week ago has started to let fans back into the arena, even though it's only 10% of the capacity, which is about a little less than 2,000 people. I do think for a lot of athletes, especially in New York, that is a big deal.
It's Broadway, man.
Yeah. No, for sure. Even though they're actually on 7th Ave.
That is true. We know that just from walking by it every day. It's on top of a train station.
Penn Station.
Look, here's the deal. This is one of those things. If you haven't worked in New York or been to New York, you're not going to get this one, unfortunately. Yeah. Something different about Madison Square Garden. I've worked there for a year or two, and it's something different about that arena. The other thing I'll tell you is that it takes a special athlete to work in New York. Not every athlete works in New York.
Right.
And I think you're right. I think the more people come back and that kind of blue army shows up, or orange army for the Knicks, it's going to change things. So I'm looking forward to that myself too. Philadelphia fan, but I was adopted by that city for a long time, so it's tough not to love them.
Especially those two teams.
Outside the Mets.
The Mets suck. They won the preseason. Congratulations. Let's see what you do when games start to matter in 30 days. But speaking of guys who might want to actually come and try out how things are in New York, we'll get to this in one a bit, the other one in a bit. Russell Wilson. It's come out that Russell Wilson might want to trade out of Seattle because after hearing what they're going to do in the offseason, he does not sound too happy. That offensive line needs a complete overhaul. That defense needs help, even though the defense started to play better towards the end of the season. And Russell Wilson, this is kind of becoming the big thing now here in the NFL, especially this offseason. A lot of guys, and actually kind of speaking of the NBA and kind of like taking a page out of the NBA, it feels like a lot of football players want to try and go and put together and go to super teams because they want to have a chance to win. Deshaun Watson, Russell Wilson, J.J. Watt, who asked for his release, right? Like a lot of these guys are like, I don't want to be part of a rebuild. I don't want to be part of this. I don't want to see this window. I don't, my window here, my window as an athlete in my prime is limited. I want to win another ring. I don't think I can do it here in the next 5 years. That's a big deal. I mean, obviously he didn't say all that, but for the rumor now to be that he wants out of Seattle, and he's the face of the Seahawks. Let's not be lie here. That's the fact.
Has been for years.
Yeah, like since he got there, basically.
Once Lynch left, I mean, it was only him.
Exactly, right? Like, so, I mean, it's basically him and Marshawn, and
maybe he's just tired
and
of
Richard Sherman on the defense.
Horrible play calling.
Well, bad play calling, and again, dude's running for his life behind a shoddy offensive line. Saw this all year long. It's how the Giants beat the Seahawks, right? Like, and it's how the Rams beat the Seahawks. It's like if you have a good
meat of it is where is he going? And the NFC East has plenty of teams that need a quarterback right now.
Well, that's just it. I mean, it's people. Right. People have been talking about Dallas trading for him, trading Dak and picks for him. Obviously, the Giants. I don't care what they say. Daniel Jones sucks. We need a quarterback.
If Russell Williams became available to New York, the Giants, not the Jets. God help them.
I mean, obviously, the Jets are also trying to make a trade too because they're supposedly in on this as well.
Right. So my point is that I could see Russell Williams being.
Russell Wilson.
I'm sorry, you're right. Russell Wilson being. I don't know why I said Williams there. I could see him being courted by the Giants very well.
Yeah.
And honestly, anybody who's in New York who thinks that you wouldn't take him over Daniel Jones, no offense, Daniel Jones, but you're crazy.
Yeah. Watson too.
But Dallas too. I could see him going to Dallas.
Yep.
I mean, but like I could see him coming to New York, Ray. I'm not going to lie to you. I could see that.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. I could see
among other teams too.
I mean, there's plenty of teams out there that need a quarterback.
Yeah.
Pitt? You don't know what's going on with Ben Roethlisberger. It's sounding less and less likely that he's going to return to Pittsburgh because he might not want to restructure his contract, and he is owed a ton of money. Obviously, I mean, I think Philly is going to try the Jalen Hurts thing.
Oh, no, 100%.
Yeah.
Philly's not looking at Russell Wilson. Now, if that does happen, I mean, like, what are we doing? How many quarterback controversies do we need?
Well, yeah.
We know the Colts don't need him now.
Right. Yeah, no, exactly. That's one of the few teams. Obviously, Kansas City set, Tampa set for at least one more year. Los Angeles Chargers. Ugh. That's so disgusting to say. They should have stayed in San Diego. They're good with Herbert, Rookie of the Year. He's fine.
Right,
but probably 2/3 of the league could use a quarterback right about now.
If he's going somewhere, he's going to win.
Yes.
Right. Now the Giants and the Cowboys don't really fit that. Pittsburgh probably does.
Yeah.
There's some destinations, but I think, it depends how many years he has left in his career. Washington has got a good defense. You need a few offensive line pieces. You draft well. You're a superstar if you come to New York. I could see that. I could totally see that happening. I think Jerry Jones selling him on coming to Dallas that's a long shot.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think that.
I'll be honest with you. As a black quarterback, I don't know if he'd want to be there. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah, I mean, especially after you saw the way Jerry treated Dak. Like, I mean, the other thing without coming to New York is the thing that kept the Giants out of the playoffs last year was the quarterback. Terrible quarterback play. It wasn't the receiver. I mean, Evan Engram made some bad drops. Let's not gonna lie. He probably used a tight end.
They are way closer than they look.
Yeah,
they are way closer.
The Giants' defense is set. Like, that's half the football. Like, I mean, like, half the football team. Defense wins championships. What helped Seattle win that championship back in Super Bowl 48? Defense. They were known as the Legion of Boom.
Listen, let's just say you got Wilson. You draft yourself some nice linemen.
Yeah.
Get yourself. I mean, you're right there. You get Saquon back. I mean, it's right there.
Yeah.
It's not going to take much to win the NFC East next year.
No.
Let's just be honest about it.
No, because Dallas's defense is still in shambles. I get even if Dak comes back to his previous
Eagles
form.
are a huge question mark, and Washington, who knows? I mean, I'm surprised there haven't been more moves in the NFC East, to be honest.
No, for sure. I mean, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. So Russell Wilson wants to trade. Another team that needs a quarterback is the New England Patriots.
That's true, too.
Cam Newton, nobody knows what's going to happen with him, but it does not look like he's coming back to New England after that one-year experiment.
Yeah, that's a great point. I could see Belichick might be able to swindle him, too.
But what was interesting is that people up in Boston hated Cam Newton so much that when Cam Newton ran a off-season football program for high schoolers, this is actually kind of a sad story. First off, Cam Newton went to a Super Bowl. Cam Newton, before all these injuries, and yes, he's only 31, and yes, he's not. He's probably had a farther decline than most of us thought. But for some high school punk to trash talk Cam Newton, for Cam Newton to come and take the time out of his busy schedule and to tell you what it takes to be an NFL quarterback, because he's been an NFL quarterback for the last 10 years, maybe you want to listen.
He's also a really good college quarterback.
He was an amazing college quarterback. Like,
also very much won the NCAA championship.
Yeah, like the dude is like, he's got a supreme talent when he's healthy. I don't know what happened this year. Maybe he rushed himself back after COVID and all that other stuff, which is totally possible. But to the punk who has since apologized and gotten way too much press time, what's the matter with you? Seriously, if I found out that my kid...
Where's the respect?
Had done this. Like, it's absolutely disgusting. And again, it says something that... And I get it. If you're a fan, Cam Newton definitely... If you're of the Patriots, Cam Newton definitely did not play the way you wanted him to this year. I get it. But he is still an NFL caliber quarterback, even if he might be more of a backup at this point. Again, he won an NFC championship. He won a college championship. He taking time out of his day to lecture you and to mentor you and to do a camp for you. Do you not? How privileged? What do you think you are owed, you snot-nosed little? Like, seriously, it makes me sick to hear stories like this. And like, I'm not a big Cam Newton fan. I'm not a big Cam Newton fan.
No, it's a respect thing. It's an upbringing thing. Look, here's what I'll say. Is that from a coaching standpoint, you never turn away free advice or advice from someone who's done it. It doesn't matter if they're good. I hate to quote Loki here. Actually, I don't hate it. This is the show to do that. But I consider experience. It's not wrong.
Yeah.
All right? You look at the greats in history. They all failed many, many times before they were famous.
Yeah.
from George Washington to Napoleon to Churchill to everyone.
Yeah.
All right. So it's like, it's a respect thing. He can teach you something, and you're going to make him not want to teach you something. Why would you turn away free knowledge or knowledge? Never turn away knowledge.
Well,
it's just dumb.
And also, it's if I'm a college recruiter and I get a hold of this kid's name, I don't want anything to do with him.
Yeah.
Like, never mind the next level. If I'm a coach, I don't want anything to do with this kid, because if he's going to disrespect guys like that, people who are authorities, who are trying to teach him, trying to educate him, trying to help him, and that's how he treats it, I don't want anything to do with this kid.
Yeah, well, I'll say this. I thought Newton handled it really well.
Yeah.
And I think that it is a big deal that the kid apologized.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So hopefully everybody learned something here. And,
but I mean,
we can
again,
move on with our lives.
A lot of times people, especially in today's society, you only apologize when you get caught. Like,
hey, it's true, but he did do it. So,
yeah, hopefully he wisens up.
Hopefully he learned. That's all I'm trying to say.
Yeah, hopefully he wisens up. But sticking around with football, and again, another team that needs a quarterback. We mentioned it several times. The Washington football team could have transitioned a couple ways out of that Russell Wilson story.
Yeah, when do we get a new name there? Right, probably in a month or two.
Hopefully, yeah. I think they're in the works. They are working on it. So hopefully by the draft, I would say maybe just before the draft, we might get an announcement, so that Goodell could announce it before.
But it'll be right at the draft. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. But somebody who's kind of retiring later this year and might want to do something in his old age, with billions of dollars on hand, Jeff Bezos.
Trillions!
Billions, almost trillions of dollars. Jeff Bezos is supposedly talking about trying to buy the Washington football team away from Snyder. And let's be honest, folks, he can't do a worse job than the current ownership group for the Washington football team.
It reminds me of Jack Nicholson and A Few Good Men. You want me on that team. You need me on that team. It says, I want the truth. Did you call the code red? You're goddamn right I did. I bought the Washington football team. You want the truth? You can't handle the truth.
Yeah.
If I'm a Washington fan, I want this.
Yes.
I want this.
Yes.
Big time.
Snyder.
Not only do we have the best, the best tech in the game.
Yeah.
You'll be playing at Amazon Arena.
Yeah.
Not FedEx Field or whatever it is now.
Yeah, it's FedEx Field. They'll turn it to Amazon Arena. But
right.
just like they're already, I think they bought the rights to the Seattle hockey team arena. I think, but I mean,
Climate Change Arena.
Yeah. But yeah,
it's a great name.
Yeah, but what is it? I mean, the two worst owners in football are Jerry Jones and Snyder over in Washington. So this would be
one of those guys cares about his football team.
Yeah, Jerry Jones really cares. He's just really bad at being, because he made himself also the GM. And the sad fact is he's still trapped in 1993. Like a lot of old people. They won
recently then. They won recently if you go by that logic.
But so it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I thought that was an interesting story. We'll see what happens there. Our final sports story before we get to the mashup this week is kind of sad. Hopefully, supposedly he's out of surgery. He's out of the hospital. He's going to hopefully make a full recovery. Tiger Woods was in a terrible car crash here in Los Angeles on a road that's actually well known for having a lot of car crashes out here in LA, it's the southern LA area near Torrance. Supposedly, I think he broke both his legs. He had a lot of lacerations. He was conscious.
He should be dead. Yeah, that's what they're saying.
It shows how far. Well, first they said the big thing is again he wore his seatbelt. That is the biggest thing that probably saved him. Other than that, and the fact that now a lot of cars kind of crumple and the impact kind of goes. The car, folks, went end over end. Like front end flipped over to back end over to front end again. Literally, it looks like somebody accordioned his car, right. And it was only the cabin really stayed intact. But it's a minor miracle. I mean, folks, it's terrible to drive out here. I was actually telling Lee beforehand, I saw a dude get wiped out on a motorcycle. I went on a walk today to go get a sandwich, and driving out here in LA, I'm amazed. I'm amazed, knock on wood, that I haven't been wiped out really. Actually, I was in a terrible accident 12 years ago here in LA. It's just terrible driving out here. I can't wait for robotic cars. Google, can you please get your pre-programmed cars to drive us all around now sooner? Because out here in LA, nobody knows how to drive.
I'm waiting for Amazon to do it.
Or Amazon, one of them. But again, sorry, I went off on a tangent there, as I'm apt to do.
No, look, Tiger Woods. Look, all the cops, everyone said he should have died.
Yeah.
And he didn't die. I do want to read a quote here from Roy McIlroy.
Yeah.
that I posted on my wall because it's powerful. Because a lot of people are saying, "What's this going to do for his golf game? What's it going to do for his golf game?"
Who cares?
Look, well, no. Here's the deal. Honestly, his golf career is over.
Yeah.
Now, okay, there's no way to recover from that fully. All right, now if anyone's going to do that, it's him. But Rory McIlroy really hit the nail on the head here. I'm just going to read it. He says, "I think everyone should just be grateful that he's here, that he's alive, that his kids haven't lost their dad. That's the most important thing. Yeah. Golf is so far from the equation right now; it's not even on the map at this point." Yeah. Tiger Woods has been through a lot in his life, both personally, publicly, professionally. Don't wish him to die. I don't wish any ill will on this guy. After seeing the documentary on HBO Max about him, you really start to dive into his life a little bit more, about the psychology, about why he is the way he is. He has a young boy at home. All right. He has nothing else to prove, in my mind.
No.
Right? They're always going to hold over his head that he doesn't have as many majors as Nicholas, and I don't care.
Yeah.
He is the greatest golfer of all time.
Yeah.
Okay?
For that period of time when he was in his prime, he was more dominant than even Nicholas was.
Yeah, he's the greatest golfer of all time. I always said championships. Wayne Gretzky does not have the most cups.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Jordan doesn't have the most championships either. Yeah. That's Russell. That's Bill Russell.
It is a nice mark to have. Don't get me wrong, and it does denote greatness. Yeah. But in this case, he's the greatest golfer of all time. He's got nothing else to prove. I'm just glad he's alive. Yeah. I'm glad. I agree with him. I'm glad his son has a father. Yeah. His kids have a father, and anyone who kind of focuses just on the golf, you're missing the point.
Yeah, your priorities aren't straight.
Right. So, look, Ray and I wish him the best.
Yep.
I mean, like he's an unbelievable figure from sports history. He will always be there. He's amongst the greatest names in history to dominate their sports. Yep. He is a Wayne Gretzky level of athlete. And I really do. I mean this. I really hope he has a recovery. And if anything, I hope he can have some peace after this. Just his life the last 10 years has just been a mess in a lot of ways. A lot of triumph, too. Don't get me wrong. But
coming back and winning that last Masters and everything. But I think that he's probably somebody who this is probably a great time for him to walk away from the public light. Right. And he doesn't, like he said, he has nothing else to prove.
Nothing. He's got nothing to prove. He owes you nothing.
Nope.
That's I'm not saying any of you are saying he does. He owes us nothing. Yeah. Like, leave the guy alone.
Yeah, no, for sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean again, he's very, very, very lucky that he survived, and we're happy he did. So,
right.
Yeah. So that is a sad note to end the sports section on, but again, and also a hopeful one because again, he did survive, and it looks like he will recover. It'll be a long and difficult road. But yeah, so that brings us now to our mashup of the week.
That'll cheer you up.
So we
the mashup.
Yeah, so we mentioned the snot-nosed punk who was calling out Cam Newton, and so it got us thinking, mostly Lee. But what comic character would you want to see trash?
It's my job. It's my job on this show. It's the production that I bring. You do the whole lineup. I come up with the mashups.
There we go.
It's a hard job. I spent at least 30, 40 seconds coming up with this one.
There you go. Yeah. So what comic character would you want to see talk trash to a pro athlete? Again, Deadpool is disqualified because Deadpool is the obvious answer for this.
He always wins, man.
Yeah. So so I mean, that's probably he's disqualified. Lee, who do you think? What's your pick for comic character to talk trash to a pro athlete?
Well, I'm going to stick with the theme of the show. Raphael from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles would be an excellent person to talk trash to a professional athlete.
Yeah.
If you want to take it a step further, you can do Raph from the TMNT movie.
Yeah.
The original movie, who talks horrible smack in a bad way. But I think that's a good place to start. I think Raph would be a really good person to talk trash.
Yeah. I was also thinking, kind of going a little outside the box here with, and also kind of almost on a Deadpool-esque level, but not quite. Howard the Duck.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Howard the Duck loves to talk.
Why you let him lick you like that? It's gross. Yeah, no, he'd be perfect.
Yeah.
Spider-Man would be pretty good too, but that's again a little obvious.
Yeah, Spidey would be great. Obviously, he's constantly talking trash, constantly quipping as he goes through. Ant-Man, and then Scott Lang, obviously. Paul Rudd's Ant-Man would be great.
Right. I gotta go back to my go-to guy, Ray. The guy I always go to my obscure favorite comic book character of all time, Booster Gold and Skeets.
Yes, that would be a good one. It would be good
because it would just backfire on them however they do it. Because it would be like, if you're talking to Cam Newton, Booster Gold would just ask Skeets what's his career, and it'd be like, he doesn't win in ever.
Yeah.
Like, well, you never won ever. Like, okay. Skeets, it's not working. Booster Gold, by far, one of my favorite characters of all time.
Booster Gold. I think Wally West, the Flash, I think that he likes to sometimes get some quips in. Green Arrow, those guys like to get some quips in sometimes. Guys who have good banter. Hal Jordan will sometimes make some one-liners that are kind of memorable.
I think Howard the Duck is actually that's a good choice.
Thank you.
That's a really good choice.
You.
Yeah, and I think Raph is too. I'm patting myself on the back, but I would love the duck and the turtle.
Yeah,
both aquatic animals to take on Cam Newton or any other athlete. And then the question is which athlete, but like that could go on all day.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's a lot of athletes that they could go. Any from the current crop or historically, but yeah, it would be
right.
It would be Howard the Duck barking at Bill Buckner after at Shea Stadium after Game 6 that goes through his legs.
That'd be amazing.
Yeah, that would be.
But we want to know
what you think.
Yes, so comment below.
Yes, comment below, please, as always, and of course. Share the episode. Thank you all so much for following us. Like we said at the top of the show, thank you all so much for joining us. We've seen some growth in the audience. We really, really appreciate it. Continue to share it. If you like what you hear, if you like what we talk about, feel free to comment. Feel free to share with your friends. Feel free to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, the whole 9 yards. We really greatly appreciate it. Go to geekswholikesports.com too, if that's easier for you. But yeah, for Lee, I'm Ray. This has been episode 98 of Geeks Who Like Sports. We'll see you all next week, everybody. Thank you all for tuning in. Good night! Woo! I got a mug too.
Yeah, you know who this is?
Nope.
This is Gerald.
Okay.
Gerald!